Okay, here we go with another episode of Vibe Tuesday. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for watching that later. Today, we are almost in the finishing line for the season 5 of Artisan. We have just one more episode before we reach the end of the creation time. And we have great projects here submitted as the top 5. The creation process is still going. You can submit your project. You can vote for these projects. If you submit a project, you can be eligible for season 6 too. You apply for the fund again. We might get more sponsorship up to $20,000. Unfortunately, we couldn't reach 20K yet. We are still receiving some sponsorships sometimes, but we might not be able to reach 20K, but it's quite close. I would call that a success. And all of this money is going to go for funding your projects. It's going to be given out as match funding for you to sell those artifacts inside Artisan for gather sponsorship and support for your project. And since we are being sponsored by Tap Ants for this Vibe coding hackathon called Vibe Play Earn, so it is launch an announcement that we done in the last episode. If you missed that, we are launching that hackathon for you to create your game, your experience, even if you want to call it your piece of art, without stressing about building a SaaS, about doing subscriptions, databases, doing backend and workers and webhooks and blah, blah, blah. Just chill. Let the vibes flow and sharpen your skills for creating code without writing lines of code by creating a game, a fun, engaging game, and submit that for season 6 of Artisan. And then you can be rewarded with some grant match funding for your project, for you to build that as a product, launch that on Steam, or launch that as a mobile app or something like this. Should be a good warm-up before you build your full SaaS. We are going to announce more events in the future where we're going to move toward more business-oriented SaaS, and testing out your skills with gaming first can be a great introduction. Okay, if you know how to use your tools for making a game, then it can be way easier later for you to build a SaaS, a business app, or a system, something like that. Okay, if you want to get the recordings, or if you want to get notified for all of these future events, come here for this calendar, Luma Venture Miner. If you haven't that already, bookmark that, save that on your browser, put that thing somewhere that you're going to remember, because here is where we're going to host all of the workshops, all of the sessions, introduction sessions, tutorials like this that we're doing today, the showcase of the past submissions. Like we have a showcase event in this Friday with Artisan, a team formation event this Thursday. If you want, you can go there and subscribe. The future announcements that you're going to do around New York, around SF, and more virtual events too, are going to be all announced in that calendar. If you want to have a member pass, please apply as a builder. I'm just checking if you have a project or not, then you can get a builder. If you have some money to sponsor, you can pick a sponsorship slot here and help us to grow the pot. Everything is going to be distributed for those projects later. And if you apply as a builder, if you are a member of that calendar, you are going to get access to all of these recordings. So we do have here 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, more than a dozen workshops. This one including is going to be recorded and going to be pasted there. And you can watch the transcript. You can, for example, what was told in the guest workshop that we had with Naruto. There is the transcript, all of the chat history. So it's very well organized. You can comment, you can go for the video. All of this is going to be given for free for you if you participate in the community, and also if you sponsor, you get access to this too. Make sure that you bookmark, you have access to that, because this is going to be your golden pass to vibe coding. Okay, this can be the difference from spending weeks, at least days, to try to vibe code something, compared to just doing that in one prompt, in a single prompt, as we had some pleasing experiences with that. I'm going to try and replicate that today. Okay, so this explains the whole program. If you have heard that a few times already, sorry for being too repetitive. It's just that it's important to have everyone on the same boat here. Now that I have you introduced to the Vibathon, now that I have pointed you around the links that you should know, also consider that we're going to give a month free of the pro plan of Windsurf. If you apply before this Friday, we have 100 coupons. So for the 100 people that subscribe first, we're going to have those coupons valid. If we have more than 100 subscribers, I cannot guarantee that everyone will be able to claim, and that can supercharge your development flow for web coding, right? If you try free models or rate limited models, you're going to have a slow experience, a limited experience. Having a pro plan, an increased plan, can help you a lot to gain speed, right? But before we get to Windsurf itself, and like the past exercise, we used like Vzero, Cursor, and many other tools. Before going there, I'm going to review some of those steps. You might be very familiar with that already, but the practice makes the practice is going to bring us perfection here. I'm going to show some steps, especially for you to vibe code games, fun, engaging games, some things that I pick it along the way that would be more useful. Okay, if you want to ask something in the meantime, you can raise your hand here. I'm going to hear a sound and wait for it. You can use the chat for communicating. If you're watching this video later, you can ask in the Telegram channel or in all of our channels, okay? And we're going to do the playbook here for the next 1 hour and a half or so, stopping for Q&As, on how to get an idea for a game, well scoped, well rounded up for using that as a fuel or using that as a material for prompting. We're going to go over the recommended tools and processes with those from going from prompt to initial state. And finally, how to get Windsurf to work for you, how to download, how to apply those credits that I'm going to send, and how to use that for building in your own device. Okay, so that were like full 10 minutes of explanation, but I guess we are all on board. Okay. Sergo, Asant, you were asking about this before. Is that clear for all of you? How to get started, links and all. Did I miss anything, by the way? I'm hushing for things here, but if you want to ask. Hey, Manuel, is you there? Good. Yes, Alok?
Sorry, I keep messing up the reaction with hands ups.
No worries. That's good. Anytime you want to ask something, just let me know, okay? So you got the idea. Vibe coding a game. We don't worry about subscriptions, payments, whatever, leaking secret data now. It's just vibes. It's just fun. So let's start with an idea. Remember, the first step for vibe coding is not coding, it's vibing. So we should work on the concept itself, on the purpose of the thing, on how we scope out the things first before we start coding. So for the next 30 minutes or so, we are not going to touch Windsurf. We are not going to work with anything complex, developer-oriented and all. It's just about scoping the idea, scoping the actual context that we're going to give for the AI. If you give it too little, it's not going to work. If you give it too much, it's going to be even worse. You're going to pay more and it's not going to work too. So remember in the past, we suggested doing quick iterations with platforms like Grok, like Cerebras, even ChatGPT, Cloud, whatever. I like to suggest Grok Cloud because, first of all, it's free. You don't need to put your credit card like OpenAI or other providers, and they do have access to good open source models. For example, you can pick the distilled version of DeepSeek. It's a very good version. I know that we didn't we didn't cover much on the difference of those models, what is context, and how we would need to do this deep dive in the future. For today, up to this point, we are just doing the introduction to it, vibe coding. So don't worry with those big names of distilled version or blah, blah. Just imagine that this is a very clever model, and Grok is very fast. If you ask something big, like give me 10 ideas for browser-based games that can be vibe coded very fast as examples. If I ask that for ChatGPT, for Cloud, it's going to build me and it's going to take a little while. With Grok, it's very fast. Like they generated 259 tokens per second with a very big model and charged me $0 for that, which is kind of impressive. And this is the kind of result I'm having. Let me see if I can get a good zoom here. We have a tic-tac-toe, rock, paper, scissors, snake game, a color match, memory game, typing speed game, space shooter, quiz game, Pong. Which ones do you prefer? Well, let's use some democracy here, right? Tell me maybe your top 3 or something. I'm going to watch the comments here, or maybe you open your mic and tell me some ideas. I can iterate very quickly here. A space shooter. Okay, that can be good. Like, so, okay, you guys like space shooter. Like, so what do you think of the space shooter game? A web-based. This is not that beginner friendly, but it's stating out that it's web-based is important, because then you don't fiddle with the things on app, mobile, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be open in the browser. It's going to be super quick to vibe code. So sounds like a good idea. This is very simple to do. Sometimes you overlook, but asking questions for the AI is very clever. Is one of the best recommendations for you to work out with ideas. Sometimes you open the door with AI and start pointing the fingers, asking it to do things. Do this and do that and do that and deploy, make me rich, solve my life. But wait a minute. Sometimes you just want to ask something for the AI. Hey, how's your day going? No, that's kind of a question. You can ask, hey, what are the best strategies for accomplishing this? This not only is going to give you insights, but it's also going to self-create some context. Instead of typing all of that yourself, the AI is going to spit out some of this context for you. So if I ask something about that, what do you think of a web-based space shooter game? Oh, that's too fast. So we had this answer here. There was a thinking step. That's nice, a reasoning model. So why it's a good idea? It's simple core mechanics, engaging gameplay, expandable. Can be done with HTML5, JavaScript framework, performance, potential features, playership. It sounds like a good one, right? Let me check the chat again. Space shooter, battleship. Battleship could be good too, but then we would need to implement some sort of dual player or something like that. I could play against the computer too, could be good. And space shooter, we could navigate around. It is composable, as the AI say. We could keep evolving that, right? What do you guys think about this idea? Good one for us to use for today? It's live. I don't have anything pre-planned. I'm just going to vibe with it. Like when you are proposed with some idea like this, how would you go with it? So I'm going with it as a suggestion. I haven't prepared this before, so I'm going to show how I would face this problem. Okay. Yes, Manuel, you have a question?
Hey, Matheus. Yes. So one question: when I see the UI here of Grok Cloud, it asks about the temperature. What does that mean when you are using a model?
Yeah, it means how hot or cold the AI is going to be, right? If you make it colder, it's going to feel better, right? Just kidding, just kidding, just kidding. It is a technical detail on how much freedom you're going to give the AI for it to come up with weird stuff. If you put the temperature way down to 0, it's going to be almost deterministic. It's always going to suggest the most probable token all the time. This is a technique called sampling. Okay, you sample some possible words and suggest them. If you put the temperature way up to the top, it might sound drunk or broken. Okay, and there are some sweet spots for different things that you want to do. Okay. Unfortunately, we didn't have much time to cover on the basics like this, but I would love to have a session, a 2-hour session, 3-hour session with all of you to go over all of that. What is a GPT, a generative pre-trained transform the temperature, the pre-training on itself, the data, the feedbacks, the context size, the truncation, the reasoning that's not reasoning, the stochastic parrot, and all of that. I have a full bootcamp about this. I love speaking about that. It's just that it's not that sexy. It's more like a technical detail that often people overlook. And I'm okay with that. Let's vibe. We can study later, right? Yes, Sergio?
Matheus, quick question. Is DeepSeek or and the other models, are they free on Grok?
Yes, they are, which is impressive, right? Did you have a rate limit? They can use that for free. If you try to use that on like OpenAI with ChatGPT or in the OpenAI Playground or Grok, you have to pay. I know it's just a few cents, but still you need to put your credit card, be charged and all, and the minimum payment is $5. Here is like literally for free. All of those companies, you can just go there and try out these like Grok, Cerebras. That is Grok with a K too from Elon Musk. There are many companies like that. Venice, it's a great suggestion because it's private. There are companies like that that would allow you to do that for free. Okay, but note that this is very simple. For going forward, if you want to step up your game creation for the Vibathon, way more than what we have time today in this short workshop, I would suggest picking a more complex tool like Perplexity. I have the Perplexity Pro, but even the free version would work well for you to use research mode. Research is something that you can do manually. Humans have been doing that for decades, like when we study, when we do our jobs, and now we Google for things, right? But when you can automate that with AI, something that goes by itself, you can create all of this context. Like instead of typing this out, it would be boring. Sometimes you don't cover the most important facts. Sometimes you don't even know about those important facts. AI can write that for you. AI can hallucinate on that, which is bad, but AI can also compose some suggestions for you. So with this idea of space-based shooter game, I can pick this definition and send that for Perplexity. I am planning to code a space shooter where I have this. I have this space shooter game. Let me just type something very quickly here. A space shooter game called, what should we call it? Vibe Space. Whatever. It will be built like this. And then I can copy the whole result from my previous prompt. I don't need to polish it too much. The AI can abstract that. Even the thinking part, it's not needed. Okay, cannot guarantee that the result is going to be that good. And then the AI is going to go by itself. It's going to go researching the web about possible frameworks to implement, about strategies for building that, about you can use that for market research, for example, about pains that people are having, what competitors you have, what similar games are this. Is there any game called Vibe Space? It can do like a domain search to see if there is another game using that name already. It can suggest you new games, new names. It can like this framework search that I mentioned. It can propose tutorials. You can read the blogs and tutorials and propose the implementation path, what you're going to download, where you're going to implement first, the kind of packages that you're going to install. So all of these web-based stuff that you would need to do yourself, and the objective here is to onboard non-coders. So usually you don't know how to search for those things if you're a non-coder. So all of those research that you would have the burden to do it yourself, you can have tools like this. Any web-enabled tool can do something like that. We could even do that inside Windsurf. Just that I'm preparing the context first to deliver that later. And that can go and go and go for a while. Doing that research, for example, it decided that it's gathering information, the popularity and the market presence of a space shooter game to understand the demand and the audience and the kind of web-based gaming space and blah, blah, blah. People, this applies for game, of course. It's going to help a lot our product here. But imagine the power that this can give for you if you're solving like businesses issues, paying of customers. You could be detecting trends or reviews from Reddit or whatever kind of source of information, even if you have some private information to put here. I've been speaking with the guys here in Avnit and some guys from New York that they are working closely with some university with this kind of data. This is very powerful. So of course that we have a hackathon here, a game, it's not that how do I say? You're not going to get billionaire by building a game. I know it's more like a play stuff, but the techniques that we're learning in this process, in the hackathon and all, can be applied for building a B2B SaaS or system or bot or anything like that, because the fundamentals are the same. Understanding the pain, the market, the structure of things, it's going to be beneficial in both scenarios, you know. So right now we have this conclusion, building Vibe Space, a comprehensive guide to web-based space shooter game development. And this is going to give like overview of the market opportunity, interesting, the technical implementation options. Guys, I don't know Phaser, I don't know Pixie, I don't know WebAssembly, but these are the most trending results out in the web, it seems, and I have the source there. This source here that a human can come here and review that link to discover that, yes, this framework here is a tutorial how to do that space shooter. And guys, Perplexity found that for me, implemented that in the prompt. It's part of my context now. I can refine on top of that. Okay. Imagine the power that you have now for building your B2B SaaS, right? So a lot of words here explaining the whole thing, monetization, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to use something that is very important for us to have some good output on this session. It's like boil down this, like reduce this scope for something very short and easy to implement in less than 30 minutes. Because I'm also explaining what I'm doing, right? So it's probably going to cut out features, like cut out features and make this super simple to begin with. So the AI is going to think a little, maybe it's going to even to research some things, but it's going to give out an output that you can just copy and paste for your vibe coding, favorite vibe coding tools later. Okay, so he's thinking blah blah blah, just implement your basic controls and minimal graphics, like a rectangle for the ship and all. Sometimes if we cut down the scope good enough, like do it well enough, we can even zero shot it. We give the prompt, let the AI work for 5 minutes or so, and then you'll come back. That is a working piece, which is kind of good. If you put that in a flow, like a Git flow, workflow of work for something like that, it can help you a lot to produce good things. If you want to do that seriously for your hackathon project, if you really want to code a fun game and all, I'm going to suggest this link in the chat, which is an article for a framework called Octanalysis that we have used for some games that we made in the studio, which we found brilliant for putting the ideas on place. It's not the only framework, it's not the most famous framework for building games, but it can really map yourself on your idea or on how you're going to engage people, how you're going to appease the emotions of the players, what kind of players you're going to build that game for. And this is a link that you can just feed that for Perplexity or for any tools that you're using. The AI can understand, can pick the attention masks actually for this kind of information, and then it can help you confronting your idea of the game with the framework here. For example, how you do an epic meaning and calling, how you maximize or how you position your game for epic meaning and calling. So you imagine that your player is great than himself, or it was chosen to do something like a hero that's going to save the world, or like a cat that is trying to free from dog, like those games that we see nowadays. AIs can do that. They can apply a paragraph against a phrase and produce an output that is agreeable by a human. Okay, that seems to be reasonable. If you want to bring your game for the next level, like build a serious game in this hackathon, consider picking a framework like this. Even this framework, which we have successfully used some good amount of times here in the studio, you can apply this for a game and have a good ideation process that could replace like a design sprint, a week-long design sprint on the game, and have some good position on how you're going to get the attention of the player, drive them to buy something, drive them to post about this in the social media and all. This can elevate the quality of your idea. It can be like a full playable game. For today, I'm not going down that rabbit hole. I'm just doing a quick game that we can quickly vibe code in half an hour with Windsurf. I'm going to use Vzero before that, but you get the idea. And we are not going to worry if this has a sense of accomplishment or prizes or rewards at the end, token rewards or anything like that. We are just going to make the tools work for us. Okay. It seems like we have a result from all of this thinking. So we have a minimal viable implementation. I don't want the code, I want the explanation. Okay. I might need to cut a thing or two. Perplexity is not very good at producing the output. It's great for getting the context, right? Then you can download it now. So you would have mobile first approach. I don't want that. Okay, for future outlooks. Okay, I should have read that. So performance, in-app purchase, advertising, challenge and solutions, architecture output. Okay, I guess I should cut all of that. On the ideation part, so far, is it clear? Using Perplexity to search for things, Grok, OpenAI, Cloud, whatever you want. Then you would have the definition of the idea first, and then you pass that for the tooling. Is that clear for everyone? Kind of repeating what we did in one of the first sessions, but now focus it for the gaming part. And we took like 12, 13 minutes to do this, as I'm counting here my watch. So it would be almost the same time for us to document everything in writing. Now it's written by AI, it's good to review, but this is what we have, okay? So let me pass that for Vzero. I'm going to create a new project called Vibe Space. If you don't know Vzero, we had a lesson about this in the past, but it's very quick To onboard, you go for this website called vzero.dev. Some people call VO for some reason. It's better than V0, but you go for this website. Let me paste that in the chat. It's not good for ideation. I see a lot of people opening Vzero and start chatting about the project or what they want to build and all. It's not that good. You're going to consume a lot of your credits. They have a new pricing now that depending on the message that you send, you're going to consume more or less credits, but it's not a good tool for ideation. I know that this Vzero is cool, but we want to use that for free for today. And we want to use all of these suggestions for making a visual game for us, the front end and the starting point of this game. So I don't want to spend precious tokens here. I'll only have so much in the free plan with ideation. I have other tools for that, like Grok that is free, and Perplexity, the pro plan here. I have those tools for ideation. Now that I have a scope, let me try something like that. I'm going to copy this. I'm planning to code a shooter game called Vibe Space. It will be built like this. I was expecting Perplexity to include more context in the last message, but it did not. That's not a problem. I can have the specification of the game here. There are some things that I don't want, actually. I'm going to copy parts of the answer that I like it from Perplexity. This is something that you don't need technical expertise. It's more like how do I phrase that? It's more like how you learn from mistakes of vibe coding in the past, that you try something for hours and it doesn't work, and then you learn it, don't go this path. This is more about experience with prompting itself than actually knowing how to code games. I'm going to pick all of this answer, 4 or 5 lines of code on how to build that app, I guess. And I'm going to download that as a markdown. You can export that as a markdown document. And then you download that for your page, for your device. So I have this scope here. I can just attach that to Vzero now. I can attach, I guess it works if I copy and paste. Yes. So I'm planning to code a shooter game called Vibe Space. It will be built like this: markdown file attached. This is going to invoke the correct function in Vzero. Make it with whatever. I don't have much time to work on that prompt, but make it with client. Let me avoid this. Make this with care. I was going to say that I wanted to make with client-side components with Next.js. I know that Vzero is going to suggest me to use Next.js. And I know that depending on how the suggestion go for server-side, it might mess up everything. But I don't have much time today to prompt things out perfectly. And I want to make this as a mock-it experience for a non-coder. So if you don't know about server components, client-side components now, use a technique here called faith. You just believe in the AI and put a lot of faith in it, and maybe it's going to fulfill your desires. It's going to do exactly what you ask it, okay? Just kidding, don't put your faith in AI. But there are some proper prompting techniques that can help you on this. Vzero is using thinking to chain of thought. So if we expand this chain of thought, I guess it helped us to provide some more context, automatically providing context, so we don't need to write that manually. And it suggested a player that can move left and right with an arrow keys, auto-shooting bullets, basic enemies that spawns and move downwards, simple collision detection, and a game for loop and continuous updates. Well, sounds like a plan, right? The document also lists key simplifications made to keep the scope manageable for a 30 minutes implementation and suggests next steps for explaining the game after the required implementation is completed. Okay, so it is going to use a web-based game, interactive preview. Yeah, it created a page.tsx with Next.js, and the components vibe say, oh, actually the game is going. Oh my God. Hey, it's live. That's crazy. Oh, the game is resetting when I hit a box. That's not cool. Okay, but that was quick, wasn't it? We do have a game. I wasn't even expecting that. That was too quick. Okay. We don't need to integrate database, subscriptions, payments, financial data. Maybe we put a leaderboard in the future and we're going to need a database. But for now, it's just simple as that. I press some keys and the things move around. Okay. And there we go. I don't know why the game is resetting when I hit a box, but it seems like it's playable. And I can keep pressing space and it goes. Nice. I wasn't expecting it to go that quickly, but I guess we have the initial version of that game. Okay. If you have used Vzero before, you know that it's not expected for you to have everything working in the first version. So this is why it's called Vzero, because you're going to do V1, V2, and V3, and V4, and so forth, and you're going to pay them more money, right? So this is the idea of these tools. So it cannot be that perfect, I guess. Just kidding. But then you can keep prompting on that until you have a working version of things. Okay. Yes, Sergo?
Matheus, quick question. Do you prefer V0 to Bolt, for instance, and why?
Yeah, for now,
I do prefer, because it does even complex stuff like financial stuff, which are coded.
Yeah, I'm suggesting Vzero for now. It's not even because of the features. It's just for the convenience of not having to introduce you guys to a new platform, because we showcased Vzero in the past. It is good because it's visual. We can see our IDE in practice, and then we can scratch that and try again, even before we install anything and go for our machine. But yes, Sergo, that is true. When we implement, for example, database integrations, payment integration, and all, Vzero can do a great job if compared to all the providers out there, right?
I agree, and even the UI as well. It does much better job.
Yeah, they're doing amazing. For deployment, it's going to be super neat too. You're going to see. Yes, Manuel?
Matheus, do you think that V0 is also good for the backend? So usually we talk about V0 for UI and front-end applications.
Yeah.
What are the obstacles or opportunities to have it work for backend?
Yeah, it's getting closer. With those integrations here, like Supabase and all, they're getting closer to do all of that one shot. But it's still, if you go for one of our previous lessons, like mastering cursor, I guess, it's still better to work with a template where you have everything set up. Vzero is going to help you doing like your homepage, your prototype, so that you can test with your first users. I guess we even spoke about that, right? So you can test that idea with end users, see if this game is fun, it's engaging, if they would pay for that, if they would play. And then you can map out your features and pick a starting template and merge those two, right? That would be the ideal scenario. Okay. Let's do like 5 minutes of vibing to see if we can fix this stuff. Like when the bullet hits a box, the game is resetting for some reason. I would like for the game to continue. It would be cool if the box explodes when it is hit. Maybe we can add something. In fact, I was vibe coding a game this Saturday for testing out things, and Windsurf even made it possible to do like soundtrack using a library called tone.js. I might be able to recreate that today, like the music of the game. Somehow the AI knows how music sounds, which is crazy, but it was working, and it wasn't the best soundtrack that I saw in games, of course, but it was decent, which kind of surprised me. I wasn't expecting for that. I'm going to try this today. So let's see how it goes. Let's see if I guess it's blowing up, but it's still resetting the game for some reason. Okay. Yeah. Fixed the game reset issue. I reviewed the code and ensured that the game only resets when an enemy collides with the player, not when a bullet hits the enemy. Okay, this is not working. Let me see if I can quote that. This is still not working. And this is where it keeps interesting. After the second and third prompt of please fix it, bro, the probability that the AI is going to fix that is like declining to almost zero. So you got to try something new. I wasn't expecting for us to reach this kind of problem here. Maybe Perplexity poisoned it, like put some information there in the context, which is driving the AI to make this error. We call that poison. We insert this poison in the prompt, in the context, and now the AI is like resisting to fix the code because it was in our prompt. These AIs are trained to respect our prompt with maximum care. So if we put something wrong to begin with, they are probably going to insist in that error. So it's kind of a locked situation. Oh, now it's working. Good. See, I had to use that technical faith. So it's working. I guess I should just, would be better if I just stopped talking and thrust more on the AI. Maybe that's my problem here today. Okay. It's going well, right? What do you guys think of this game? Maybe we try something before going for Windsurf. I love those explosions.
Matheus, what chance do you think that this can improve the graphics? You know, how far can this go in terms of graphics building?
I guess we should use the same technique as we used before, right? We can ask the AI and have some faith. Improve the graphics a bit. What should we include, Manuel? Make the boxes look like meteors. Other lactic objects. What else?
With high definition, I would say, like try to push the limits of the. See how good can it get in terms of resolution.
Billions. Sounds good. Gotta hype up the morale of the AI. We believe you. My grandmother is about to die if you don't vibe code this game. So I believe you that you are the hero. And then the AI makes like an extra effort. Maybe because of the feedback, self-feedback, human feedback loop or something like that. But it's impressive how they do get a little better when you get dramatic with the prompts. And as a good example here on the folder structure, we have one single file called vibespace.tsx in the components and a page of tsx, and that's enough. I don't need to build folder structures on middlewares and APIs and workers, Chrome jobs, or anything like that. It's just a simple TypeScript file hosting the whole game here for us, and the whole thing is working. We can test it out. We can even host that. So it is. I don't know of any other quicker path which gets started with something visual and usable for vibe coding other than this. So it is really the most baby step like process that I know of. Yes, sir, go.
Matheus, do you know which LLM is Vzero using? Because at a certain point, actually, I prefer to download the code and work in Cursor, where I can choose the LLM myself.
Yeah, we are going to do that. We're going to do that. For now, they are using their proprietary models, I guess. Let me see if that's working. Yeah, well, it's not that bad. It's still squared objects. It's not that bad. So, Sergio, I guess what you're asking is like if they're using ChatGPT or something like that under the hood, right? I would need to check that to answer with precision. But as far as you know, they invest in like the prompting structure. I guess they do wrap some providers. I would need to check which one to answer you fully. But they do invest a lot in that thinking process, the kind of integrations, the function calls, the MCP servers that they put. So they are like doing what Cursor is doing, Windsurf is doing, but packed with a lot of pre-configurations for you, right? Okay. Manuel, I guess I have high resolution stuff here, but it's still the geometry is not helping. But I guess like it's good to go. Maybe we dare a little more.
We prompted it. No, we asked to make it squares in the beginning.
A bit more. I know I asked you to make them like squares, but now you can get past that and compose some shapes for replacing these boring squares. And now all of these prompt engineering stuff would come in hand here. Like you are an experienced. Let me be super lazy here. Like pose a prompt for convincing the AI that it is an experienced game designer for building game objects. So maybe the AI is going to compose the prompt. You are an experienced game designer, blah, blah. I guess this is level 2 lazy. The AI composed the prompt that I'm going to use for all the AI, okay, and then I'm going to ask this instruction. Let's see how it's going to go. Okay, and I'm going to stop here because then I would start all of those layers of prompt engineering, pasting examples, doing role-based prompting, giving a system prompt for the AI, building different agents for them to talk to each other, decide things on consensus. I would have a lot of different techniques that I could put here that only compose more complexity on top and can be a bit scary for newcomers. So if you are coming here brand new, if you're watching that in the future and if you don't know nothing about prompt engineering, remember that you can always do that. You can always ask an AI for composing the prompt for you. And then you can use this prompt in another window to actually prompt the AI itself, okay? You can find those prompt repositories in places. People love to post about that on LinkedIn, on social media, to appear that they know what they're speaking about. But for today, I'm going to cut this discussion. This is not the focus for today. We had this in other lessons. For today, the objective is how to use those tools properly. So before coding on Windsurf, for vibe coding, before coding, you vibe. So we are doing the whole ideation and prototyping phase of it. We got the idea rounded up, we got the AI to compose the context for us, and now we are sketching up the interface with Vzero for us to deploy something before using on Windsurf. Okay, and I'm not going to keep prompt engineering this. I just hope that it works. I'm going to use faith again, my secret weapon for today. But if it doesn't, I can just roll back to version 4, I guess, and deploy that. Good. Any questions while this is finishing? I guess the AI took that seriously. It is composing a lot of objects here. Let's see, moments of truth. Okay. Now we do have shapes. Okay, that's not bad. The hitboxes are not that good, but we have a planet. We need to destroy our planet. I hope no one dies with that.
Use UFO shapes, Matheus.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, well, I could ship that to the Play Store or Apple Store, wherever, and I would have more than $1 per month, I guess. My son would play that, I guess. Not that bad. Thank you, Manuel. Great suggestions. Okay. Now imagine, let's do a minute on this. Imagine that you travel 10 years in the past. It's 2015. You can still watch good movie clips on MTV. And then you tell that you're going to spend half an hour and you're going to make a game like this. Crazy stuff. You would be billionaire, right? Technology is happening. It's ahead of us. Like, this would be revolutionary 10 years ago. Now it's common things that we can do for half an hour and with free tools or almost free tools and get that going. Impressive, isn't it? Imagine when we apply these techniques for solving real world pains like B2B apps and all. Sounds promising, right? 1 hour deep in this lesson and we reach it at like a peak on realization of what we are living. Let's get to some environment configurations then for us to deploy that. I'm going to use Vercel to deploy. This big deploy button here. Guess what it's going to do? It's going to deploy the app, which means like publishing that in the internet for anyone to play with it. It is an important part for you to publish a game for other people to play, yes, but it's going to help us to migrate this code for Windsurf for us to use with Windsurf. I'm going to show that the conversion, the process to do that for 10 minutes or so, okay? The first thing that I suggest is to link it to GitHub. If you are not a coder, if you're non-technical, if you're hearing about GitHub for the first time, if you heard about that but never use it, don't get afraid with this. This is going to be the coordination part for you to share your code, for you to work with your code, especially with the AI. I see a lot of people freaking out when the AI messes up your code because it was working before and then you need to revert the changes manually and all. Using Git, this control structure is going to be your friend because then you liberate yourself to do crazy stuff. And if it doesn't work, you can just revert back, okay? It's not the most non-technical friendly tool, I know. You still need to know a thing or two, but it's not that difficult. Anything that is less complex than using an Excel spreadsheet, I can treat as a non-coder stuff. If you need to import libraries, configure a system path, and do device configurations and all, I would treat that as a complex developer kind of operation. Anything that is as simple as using a web app like Google Sheets or anything like that, I'm going to treat as non-coder because most of you, even if you didn't develop anything in the past, you might have used a spreadsheet or anything with this kind of complexity. And this is enough for you to deal with GitHub and the things that I'm going to show today. Okay. So you click here on deploy to GitHub and click on create repository. This is probably going to prompt you to connect your account first. If you don't have an account, you're going to need to create that account and connect it first here. It's going to be a flow that might take 5 minutes or so, but that is nothing technical. It's just going through prompts like put your email, put your password, go for email, pick your confirmation, go back, click on approve, type in your password. The normal flow that you should do hundreds of times per year to create accounts on things, right? So nothing technical. You're going to put your GitHub there, create an organization or something like that. And when you complete, you should have a working piece like this. Actually, no. I need to sign in first. I thought I had. Signing with my account. Use my GitHub mobile. Oh my God. That's going to take a little while. Sorry about that. GitHub. Where's my GitHub? Here it is. My GitHub mobile. Let me approve that. Approve it. Okay. So yes, this is a great example. You're going to have some sort of complexities like this. It's going to ask you for confirmation, creating an account or something like that. But after you're going to have something like this. All of the files that you have in Vzero are going to be hosted in that repository. Here you have some explanation about the project here in text and all of those files. And I promise that for today, I'm not going to manually edit any of those. I'm going to just vibe through it as a non-coder. I just want to show that with this kind of tool, you're going to have this kind of history. All of the changes that are done in your files are going to be in a tree here. So if you mess something up in the step 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you can always roll back. There are some comments for that, okay? So long you don't mess up your Git history, you're good to go. And it's very difficult that you mess that up. So you can play around safely, do the wildest stuff, delete all the files, and then ask the AI to recreate them, whatever. And still you can recover your work if you use this GitHub or any other Git provider where you commit those changes, okay? I'm going to show that in Windsurf. So it's a quick export feature where you click on that button, open that in GitHub, and you're good to go, okay? The second operation that I would suggest you to do is click on deploy here. Sergey, I guess this is what you were asking me before the lesson, right? You want to know how to configure Vercel correctly and your domains inside your project, right?
Correct, yes.
So when you click on deploy here, you still would need to configure your account and things like that, but it will guide you to deploy this app for production. And since we don't have any databases, we don't have any providers like payment provider, anything like that, it should be very simple to deploy. And even if you face some deployment problems here that might happen, like these warnings and all, Vzero should be able to fix those for you. Even if you run out of credits, this autofix, it's not built, you can do that. What's going to happen is inside Vercel, this cloud provider, host provider for your app or something like that, they're going to build an app for you and host that publicly for you for free. Even if you have a free account, like this is my hobby account, it's in a free account. And we have this game inside this website, Vzero Vibe Space Vercel app. Let me show that for you here in the chat. So pasted it here. Okay. Vzero Vibes, yeah, this link that I paste here in the chat. Let me close some of my tabs here. Okay. Let me keep this one open. So the things that I coded there on Vzero are now working in that browser. Anyone can access and start playing this now. Should work there on your browser. Should even work on a mobile, I guess. Not bad, right? So what kind of configurations are happening here under the hood? This is being hosted inside this company called Vercel. Yes, they are going to bill you depending on your usage. They are not like, they are for profit. If you start having too much usage, they are going to bill you. But so far it's for free. And they have a feature here that you can pick your project. Click here on your project name and all. You can integrate it to a GitHub repository. Okay. There is a repository link here that any change that you do to the repository would trigger a pipeline that we call CI/CD, continuous delivery and continuous integration pipeline, that would auto-rebuild that project. So let's say I code that in Windsurf, paint that screen as green or red. It is going to show up here when I hit deploy. When I do a git commit, the git is going to orchestrate those two things, and it's going to automatically update my website. Okay, if I have time, I'm going to show that today. So now it's basically all of the configurations needed for you to have your vibe coding going is done for you. I know it's not that friendly for non-coders and technical people, but it's not more complex than using like a spreadsheet or Google Sheet or something like that. You just need to know where to click, how to navigate. You can pick this record and go off that slowly. You're going to click on deploy here. Eventually, you're going to have a deployment like this screen that I had, like this. It should be green if not something bad happened. And if you click here on your project, you should have an account there with all of your projects. You're going to see a dashboard like this, where you're going to have your domains, your GitHub repository connected. You can visit, you can do settings and all of that. Okay. Sergio, about that, a question that you asked about the domains. Sergio was asking me about how to configure those domains and all. All of the settings about your deployment can be found here in the settings tab. So for example, you can attach a domain. If you buy a domain from somewhere else, or you can even buy a domain directly from Vercel, you can come here, buy them or add them here. You put your website and it would work out of the box, would attach, or you would configure the DNS links, and you would have your project attached here.
Matheus, it worked for one of the domains. The second one, I'm getting an error message, which I'm happy to share with you later. I don't want to bother others, with that.
No worries. No worries. Yes. So all of the settings I just mentioned, that it's here under the settings configurations. Depending on your plan, you're going to have limitations on how many domains you can have. For example, in my Pro plan, my venture-minded domain plan, I do have a lot of domains here, because I'm paying for those seats. In the free plan, I might have some errors depending on how many I add here. Okay.
How many you can have? How many domains you can have in the free plan, Matheus?
I don't know. I would need to check. Let me see if I can add an order here. Maybe we can go for docs for that later. Okay.
I think it's two. You can have 2 domains.
2 domains in the free plan.
I think so.
Good guess. Let's check that later. But this would summarize all of the infrastructure part. And if you are not familiar with DevOps, if you have never hosted anything on AWS or any of those providers, let me tell you something. This is abstracting a huge amount of work. Setting up an instance, publishing the website online, making it available, solving the SSL, like the connection from the player to the website is 100% safe. No one can track that because of the transport layer security that was applied. It is deploying that on edge, so someone playing in Europe is going to get those files from Europe server. Someone in Asia is going to get those files from Asia servers. It's going to do a lot of work for you, basically for free. The trap here, a lot of air quotes, is that when you scale up and you have like 100 users, 1,000 users, they're going to start billing you heavily, like thousands of dollars. And then it might be cheaper for you to just deploy your app in a normal EC2 instance in AWS or something like that. But for this vibe coding stuff, for the hackathon, for early stage projects, it's great because you can use that on the free tier and don't have any problems with them soon, or like until we reach hundreds or thousands of users. It's very, very convenient. Okay, now we have our website live. Vzero vibespace.vercel.app is here. We can add a domain. We have that on our GitHub. I guess we could call it a day, right? But no, this is the beginning. After you solved all of that infrastructure part, you free yourself of handling all of these deployments, complexities, building complexities, and blah, blah, blah. You can now just focus on speaking with the AI. We're not going to integrate databases. We're not going to integrate payment processors. You're not going to integrate anything that would require environment configurations. It's just about vibing now. So sharpening your skills, vibe coding directly, you and the AI in you. You put a lot of faith in the AI. The AI charges your credit card, and this become a healthy relationship, right? Just kidding. You're not going to be charged. I have free plans for you. Subscribe to the hackathon, and for the first 100 participants, I'm going to give a coupon codes for you to have a free pro plan on Windsurf. Okay, the pro plan is cool because you can use 500 prompt credits per month. So you can be shooting OpenAI GPT 4.1 all the days and still have plenty of credits. Okay, if you are in the free plan, you can only use 25 prompt credits per month, which would suffice for a couple hours maximum at my current usage. So you can have those good models. You can have like 0 credits per prompt with this model. Proprietary premium model, I'm not going to comment about that thing of proprietary models, OpenAI, blah, 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 but they are doing some solid advancements in that direction. Giving you the pro plan might speed up, might boost up the outputs that you can do in this hackathon. I'm very glad that Windsurf gave us this opportunity, and I'm eager to see what you all are going to explore with this tool, with these techniques allied with the power of Windsurf here. Okay, it's not mandatory for you to use Windsurf. You can use other tools, of course. They're not exclusive, but since they're giving their pro plan for free, I guess we could all save $15 and have some good vibe coding done, right? And I'm going to show you some good features from Windsurf, which Curso haven't implemented yet. They might implement that soon, but they're going to be very useful for vibe coding games. It might be worth following this explanation too, okay? How to get started with Windsurf? First, you create an account, and then you download the app. Both processes might take 2-3 minutes each. The app download itself, it's available for any operational system that you might have, and you can even install the Windsurf plugin in your favorite coding platforms, even inside Chrome if you want, Google Colab if you don't want to set up the environment for yourself, or you can just download the app directly. I have it open here on my computer. This is the interface of Windsurf. It is a fork from VS Code similar to Cursor. So if you are familiar with Cursor, it's going to work very similarly. They operate with this main feature of the cascade that you can ask it for creating your apps, your changes and all. And the flow of work is going to be very familiar to what we did on past exercises, okay, in past in the past lessons, like mastering Cursor, the one-on-one, the MCPs and all that we showed how to do these techniques with other tools. We can follow similar flows. You're going to open a folder in your computer that you want to start, and you're going to prompt everything here inside Cascade, inside these agents that they have, okay? We're not going to start from scratch. We're going to start from what I have here. We're going to start from this repository that we have. You can even download it directly. Here, download this zip folder. But remember, I wanted to make it connected to the repository in a way that we could push code there, trigger an execution and all. There is a small tool for that. That is the GitHub CLI that you can run inside your computer, inside a terminal and all. And I know that this is kind of cheating because it's not a promise that I wouldn't do anything too technical, right? So yes, that could cross that line. But if you go for the CLI itself of GitHub, you're going to see that you can just download and install for whatever device that you have. For Linux, Windows, Mac, Chromebook, PlayStation 3 browser, whatever you're using, you can download that there, and it should be usable inside VS Code, inside Cursor, inside Windsurf, whatever you're using. So in this situation, I have it there installed. You can use any Git oops, close the wrong tab here. You can use any Git client if you want to, if you have those on your machine, and just run that command there. Where to run that command? I don't know running commands in my computer, right? So pay attention for 10 seconds. Open your Windsurf. You're going to open a terminal here, usually by pressing Ctrl-J or Command-J, or any command like that. This is your terminal. Okay, this is there. This little line here, it is where you're going to prompt commands. If you don't know how to operate a console, a terminal, blah, 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 don't worry about that. Even the AI can operate that for you. Like, you can chat how to clone a repo to my computer, to my desktop. Something like that. Even that AI can help you with this kind of stuff, okay? So this is not what is going to stop you from vibe coding today. This is borderline crossing that line that I mentioned. But if you install this client, just downloading from that website, you don't need to install it from the command line, from the terminal, as people suggest. You can just download it from here. This tool is going to be installed there on your computer for you to use it later. And if you invoke this command that the AI is guiding you, that's good. It's basically clicking on insert on terminal and hit enter. You don't even need to type that out. See, I told you we are not going to type a single line of code, but we can click and press enter, right? We are entering a gray zone here, but we are not typing any line of code. So I do have it there. If you don't have Git installed, you can install it with this, like insert in terminal and hit enter. This is going to install Git for me. I just need to put my password. Okay. You see, click and press enter. You don't need to know what is happening. You don't need to know what is this, what is that. If you're using Mac, it might give you some prompts like your computer is about to blow up. Then you gotta say, chill, I'm just installing something. If you're using Windows, it might introduce some other configurations. For Linux, it's very easy like this. Okay, and then I'm going to navigate to my desktop, as the AI is telling me. This is a command called change directory. I don't need to know that. Okay, and then I'm going to clone that repository. But instead of using this link that AI is telling me, because I didn't give it enough context, I'm going to use this link that I have here in my project, because I'm going to clone this link, this vibe space git. You are going to have another link. Vzero is going to create that link for you, and there you have. Okay. Do we have any non-technical people here to help me measure? Ideally, a person that never used GitHub before. If this is confusing for you, I made a bad job here. I should have explained that in a way that even a non-technical person should be able to run those commands. Okay. Sandra left the meeting. I was looking for someone here. Do you have any non-technical? Like, is that the first time you are seeing Git? Raise your hand. No one. So if you are watching this recording in the future, and if you don't understand this part of Git, you can write me an email complaining, and I'll answer you in a very polite manner. Okay. But I hope that this explanation is good enough. This is not a reason for abandon vibe coding with Windsurf, because yes, you can just run those commands by clicking instead of typing, and you should be able to pick from there. You don't need to have engineering experience, as people say, choose Cursor, Windsurf, and all. It is very beginner friendly. You just need to have a good teacher. I hope that you can follow this explanation now on. Now that I have cloned this, I can just open this folder, clicking that blow button. I'm going to navigate from my desktop, vibe space. Let me do that slowly. I don't need my terminal anymore. Okay, blank space. I'm going to click on this open folder button. navigate from my desktop. That's where I have chosen to put this file. I'm going to pick this folder. I'm sorry that it's very small. I guess I can't enlarge this in that screen. And I'm going to click on open here. Okay. Is that, let me see if I can follow you. So this has opened that folder. I downloaded that from the internet. So there is this security check. If I want to trust these authors or not. Yes, I'm going to trust so that it can run some of the features that I need. Okay. And this is where all of the fun is going to start. I can ask questions by chatting with this AI, or I can write suggestions for it, suggestions or comments for it, as we would do in Vzero, right? There is a very cool feature in Windsurf that other tools that don't have it that well yet. That would be the preview option that can enable you to send cascade context from a locally running window back and forth. Let me show how that is interesting. I'm going to click on Start Preview. Cascade is going to figure out what kind of project that I have. And it's asking, can you please let me know how to usually start a web site locally? Which port URL should I preview? Those are the kind of questions that a non-coder doesn't know how to answer. I acknowledge. I'm just going to point out the detail that we have a README here. We have that file here called README in the folder that is going to showcase how to run that project, how the project is working and all, okay? This can be a good starting point for you to get acquainted with the definition of a project. In this case, Vzero put all of the Vzero explanation here, okay? One thing that we can try before doing the actual coding, the actual technical explanation here is asking the AI to figure out, like, read the files and figure it out, please. Right? You gotta be polite with the AI. So the AI can do that. They have some tools where they can analyze those strategic files like the package.json, the next config, and it figure out that this is a Next.js application. Oh, don't you say? Well, it is. I know that this is a Next.js application. If you are a non-coder, you might not have a clue about what is that. But yes, we can run that command very easily. Okay. There is this write mode that we can ask the AI to run that for us. So like run the preview server as a command. And then the AI is going to run that for us. Every command that AI is proposing will be reviewed. They have those options for you to review them manually, you know, but ideally you're going to review, you want to run that command in the terminal. I know that this command is harmless. I'm going to accept. If you don't know about these commands yourself, if you are confused at what these commands are doing, you can also ask in the chat. Okay, the chat feature here on Windsurf works like the other chat features you use it in other tools. They might explain you what is going on. Okay, it gave an error. It figured out what error was that. So the dependencies are not installed yet. To fix this, you need to install the dependencies. Oh yes, I know that. The AI could have done that before. A non-technical person wouldn't know. The AI is guiding everything here. Okay. Any questions so far? Maybe you need some time to install Windsurf to try that on your side, you know. But this would be the flow, the onboarding flow. You clone your project, you start prompting the AI, and this is going to start a preview server for us to look at the application. Okay. And then we can click on Open Preview. I like to do in an external browser. This preview might do just well. We didn't write a single line of code. We didn't run anything directly on our terminal other than cloning the repository. And this is going to host that app in our local host. Here we have the game. So we're playing that inside Windsurf. Isn't it cool? There are other tools that can do that, like Replit did that natively, but it's online. And then for you to migrate those two things, they take a while. This is running inside our own computer in a local server. Why do you run in a local server if you have just deployed that? Let me show you now why. If you happen to have any console errors, you can just click to send the console errors to the AI here directly. Sometimes you need to copy and paste, and this requires a little of technical knowledge. Here you can just click on that button. But even better, if you want to edit a single element inside your app, if you just prompt that out in the open, it might take a while for the AI to figure out where to change the files or which files to change. And if you're not technical, you might not know. This feature here is great, send element. You can just point at some element, like this home element here. You click. It's going to add this to the cascade as a context, similar on how we did with cursor to adding context in the previous lessons. If you want to review that, the recordings are there in that folder. And after you have that element, you can ask the AI for changing specifically something there. The AI is going to search for that file, for that place inside your folder structure. You don't need to be technical for guiding the AI on that. And you can ask it for changing something like make this controls card smaller, something like that. Make this control card smaller. I guess it's too big here. It's taking too much space in the screen. I wanted to make it smaller. If I would make this change like without pointing that element or without giving this kind of context for the AI, it would be very probable that you would get lost. It would hallucinate or wouldn't find the files. So now we had this edition. Those pages changed, like these lines of code changed. You can click on open diff here. So some code was written for us. You don't need to understand this code, just showing that it changed. We had these lines of code on the top. They were replaced. Everything that is in red was removed, and they were replaced by these lines of code in green. I don't need to understand these lines of code directly. If you are a coder, yes, this is great. You can compare what happened. But if you are a non-technical person, still you can point out and change things just by prompting. Okay, I don't need to run it again. I have it running, so that's good. I want to make those buttons smaller, so make the buttons smaller too. And this can happen for anything that you have in your page, like just game over stuff. So the buttons decrease it. The headers and footers, anything that you have in your page, now you can point and it's going to change. Play again. Let's see if I can do that while the game is going. I don't think I can. Yeah, I cannot pick much. But for example, this title here, like improve this title. Let me stop this. For some reason, it's suggesting me to. Yeah, I should have started a new chat. My bad. I'm using the tools incorrectly. I should have started a new chat for doing those changes. Okay. Now we have this big title here on the top. Okay. Good. The game's going. Remember I told you about the Git stuff, how it would be useful? I can ask the AI to do that, like commit these changes and push them to production. Or I could tell that in a less technical way too. So it's suggesting me to run this command. I'm going to accept. And I'm going to accept this order. Okay. Simple as that. We don't need to worry with deployments, with CI/CD pipelines, entering on servers, or anything like that. I'm going to go for Vercel. Here, my overview of my project. There is a new deployment building. Here, a new deploying building a few seconds ago that was triggered from my commit. There is no direct integration from Windsurf to Vzero to Vercel or whatever. All of the communication is happening through GitHub. Every time I commit something here, commit the change before pushing it to production, they're going to be picked automatically by Vzero, and I would have a new version of that website deployed. Now you can show those changes for your client, for your player, for your user base. Hey, you gave me this feedback. I've implemented it. What do you think of that now? Oh, it's better. Oh, it's worse. Oh, it broke up on your machine. This is going to speed up your development cycle. Instead of weeks for deploying a new feature, you can test like 3, 4, 5 features changes in the same day with your users, with the social media channels and all. It makes the development cycle ultra fast, and the bug cycles ultra fast too. So you don't need to worry with deploying the things yourself. You can just use the structure, the underlying structure for that. Okay, and if you mess it up, you can just roll back for some changes. Okay, I know we are almost at the end of it's half an hour that I told, but I'm going to try something very quick. I want to do some proper vibe coding. So, for example, make this game. Actually, let's ask a question. How would you implement a feature for an energy shield that can absorb 1 impact each 5 seconds on this game? This is going to read all of the information inside the files. I could even define some MCP servers here. I have some of myself that I like to use, MongoDB, Context7, Puppeteer, sequential thinking. You can configure those here very easily, like that talk we had, that workshop on MCP servers. You can configure them inside Windsurf too normally. They are not going to be relevant for today. It's just showing that you can ask these kind of things in the chat, and Windsurf is going to use these tools inside the agent for figuring out things, figuring out the files that you would need to change, figure out the implementations, figure out the step-by-step, the thinking, and all of that. You can pick different models here. These GPT-4.1, SWE1, all of those different models, to see how they would compose better plans. And then you can implement them later. For example, let's pick this one. Is this a good plan? So the different model is going to generate that based on the training that it has. Solid plan, okay, state management, extensible, okay. Now I can ask it to implement that. Let's just wait a while for it to finish implementation. So write, implement that. This gives you the possibility of chatting with AI in a conversational flow before doing the changes in the actual code. So you don't need to roll back changes, which can be a little frustrating. Let's wait for a little while. Let me check the remaining part of the file to understand the complete game loop and rendering logic. And it might take a couple minutes. Okay, now it's starting to code. And if this doesn't work, if this breaks the whole game, we're not going to freak out. We have a backup. The game is working live. We can use Git to go back and forth. I can ask the AI to revert the Git changes for us. So we don't have any restraints, any fears of vibe coding things freely, because now we know that we have a easy back up to revert to if we need. Kind of the same thing that the Vzero is doing for us there, the web part. We can mimic this even without knowing how to code. We can mimic this here with Windsurf. Okay. Generation is taking longer than expected. Might not be a problem, might be a problem. But we learned today that we need to use some good doses of faith when dealing with AI, right? So we're going to wait and we're going to have faith. We're not going to question. I just give some space for the AI to work. Let's see if we have questions in the chat in the meantime. No one understands Get. That is so true. Like, you know some comments, but the whole thing is always messed up, right? The link, sorry about that, Don. Here. Okay. Don, do you have access to the folder, right? The Google Drive folder?
I do not.
Okay, let me fix. Okay, have you applied for the Luma calendar? Venture Miner. I was asking Don because Don asked it here in the chat. But Tony, if you don't have, that's bad too. Like, I need this in a recording. Trying to figure out what's happening if you don't have the recording. If you apply for the calendar here, you can apply for the Builder a membership or support a membership, maybe even a sponsor membership. You should receive the recordings in a Google Drive. If not, check your spam folder. Okay.
Okay, thanks. I signed up with a different email, so that's
might be there as well. Okay. Good. No other questions? Let me see. See if we can finish the editions. That is taking a while. I wouldn't expect that to take that much. Maybe the model is broken. Yeah. They are giving it for free for a limited time. Maybe it is taking a while to answer. Maybe I shouldn't try things live, right? So let me pick a normal model and GPT-401 promo. Okay. Like, implement this and it might do the job. So it is editing now. Okay, that's good, Jordan. Yes. This is why I wanted to do that introduction hackathon. I know that everyone has busy lives. You all have things to do. So it's good to take a time to catch up, put your skills to test. I don't want to explain new content before we go from this zero phase. So we go for this hackathon. We have some fun. We have good vibes. We have some games there. And then on June, we can start with some more business stuff. Okay. I'll link to the repository. Let me share that. Okay. For some reason, it's private. Do I want that private? How much would you pay for having access to this repository? Let me make that public. Maybe it's worth like a couple of dollars, maybe a few $100s. I want to make this repository public. I have read and understand all of these effects. Make this repository public. That's too much bureaucracy. Not that it's public, the Vibe space is public. Okay. Hey, Tony, what do you think of this name, Vibe Space? We had build space in SF, right? Maybe we should have a Vibe Space in New York.
I love it. I love the game too.
Yeah. Well, let's see if Windsurf is still working. Well, finish it working. Let me preview. We do have an issue. Let me refresh that. Okay. Well, I guess I do have a shield. Let's see how it goes if I crash. Oh, I guess it's working. Guys, it's working. That's amazing. We just vibe coded a new feature like that. And yes, it died. Okay. That was surprisingly good. I was expecting a lot of back and forths in the way, but that worked very well. I guess we do have the game working. Yeah, this idea of this like sand element and all, it is quite interesting. Yeah, ideally, I would be able to pick an element inside the game that would be super cool. But even like that, imagine you are like testing out a feature, a new part of a website. Now you can just point at it and have you can just point at it and have a prompt for that single element. That can be very helpful. Okay, let me see the chat questions. Yeah, Manuel, you have a question?
Yeah. Matheus, one question on, do you know if that feature of sending the element and sharing the console is available also on Cursor, or is this only on Windsurf?
Only on Windsurf. Cursor is rolling out that thing. Let me check that out on the change log. And it's something that Vzero used to have. You could point at something and ask it to edit, but then they migrated for the chat mode and they lost that. But I guess you can still do something like that. So let me see. They were speaking with something about preview. Maybe they announced it on social media, something like that. Preview. Preview. Oh yeah, I guess it didn't announce that in the change log yet, but they don't have it right now. You can't use, and I guess I'm not 100% sure, but I guess they mentioned about that in their socials that they would have a preview feature, but they don't have yet. Okay, and it's true, people. Windsurf have been working on this fork from VS Code way longer than Cursor for a while. They were like leading the race. So Cursor raised a lot of money, and now Windsurf like it's going crazy. So those two tools, they are like complementary at some point. If you need to choose to pay for one of them, of course you need to pick a better one and wait out for yourself. But if you're using the free versions of both, or if you have like a student plan on Cursor that you can use for free and Windsurf with the pro plan, you can use both interchangeably. And you try something there on Windsurf, do the preview, and then you try that on Cursor. Those can be two different tools in your tool set until someone buys the other and have the winner takes all, something crazy like that. Okay. The really interesting talk in this whole stuff is how Microsoft had VS Code, GitHub, and Copilot all the way down, like 2 years ago, very lead starting this whole race, and still no one is using Copilot for any of those vibe coding stuff. So it's interesting to see how markets play out in those tools, right? Let's see what the next chapters would hold for us. This is it at the latest version. I guess the shield counter is not working that well. Maybe we can try and ask that, like the shield charge bar is not working properly. It is showing empty even when the shield is active, and it is not increasing when the shield is recharging. Trying to explain the thing, because when we can point and send an element, unfortunately we can do that inside the game, but when you can point at something, it's way easier to explain the AI what is wrong. But if I try to explain it with words, it might be able to find a problem there inside the code base. I wouldn't have that much faith on that, though. It's not very efficient because AIs are trained to correlate words with other words, and they can go very well from word to code, but trying to find those words inside the code, what they are doing, is not that easy. So they did edit something like that, but I don't know if that's going to work at all. Let me see. I want to go for the thing. Yes, it's still not working. So it is stopped there for some reason. It is flashing, I guess. Well, whatever. Yeah, look, this is totally crazy. The shield bar is not working very well. But I guess I wouldn't spend too much time on fixing this. Yes, people vibe code is not perfect. At some point, you need to do normal coding, step in, ask a dev to fix that thing, because AI might hallucinate and all. But when you can point at things and give the AI, the accuracy is quite high. But when you try to describe something that's wrong with words, it's much more difficult for the AI to figure things out. Okay. We have time for questions. 10 minutes or so. Maybe we play off. We see who makes the biggest high score in the next 10 minutes. Or maybe we just chat about Q&A.
One more question on GitHub. You said that when you're vibing and something happens that doesn't work, you can go back to a previous version. How do you do that?
Yeah, the best way to do that is using branches. Okay, I do have an extension here that is more like developer wizardry. We call it that. It's kind of crossing that line of the technical difficulty, but we have those trees which we can open different branches. Okay, and I would use a technique called git flow. We open new conversation, that chat like, could you explain concept of git flow for me? There are many different ways for you to control your git, like with pull requests and all, but this git flow is a very easy playbook for you to follow. You have one main branch that is going to keep always operational with the product code, one develop branch that is going to keep operational with like your internal development code, and those two need to be working all the time. And then you're going to branch off from development whenever you want to do a new feature. For example, feature name. Those are different tags, different directions that your app can go. Okay, you can have more people working on those different branches. Then eventually would merge all of those work back into development and main, so that you can switch branches. And when something is not working, you can discard that branch, roll back and all. You can do that with commits too, but it's more tricky. With branches, it's super easy. So for example, I could ask the AI to then like write. So implement git flow here. Just need to know this term git flow. The AI is going to get the status of my git, what I have there. Still running for some reason. So it's going to get the branch that we have. We are in the main branch. So it's going to check out this new branch called develop. If you don't know what it's doing, don't worry. It's going to push to the origin develop. So you have that in the server. Okay. Now you have that new branch. I can ask it to create a new branch for that feature that I'm working on right now. So to start a new feature, check out a new feature. So let's start a new branch for the shield energy shield feature. The AI is going to know which comments to run. You just need to accept I'm not typing those comments. I'm just accepting those comments. Now I have this energy shield, and now I can ask it to commit that. Commit the current code. Then you're going to have different branches. So there we have that. I guess I need to publish that branch here, and it's live. The benefit of doing those branches is that inside Vercel, let me check that again. You are going to have different deployments for different branches. So for example, you can test live how a user would see that. You can even send that for a user. How a work in progress branch would go. So look, that feature of energy shield is shipping. And after it rolls out, after you have the deployment completed, you would have a different website, a preview website that only certain users can visit. That is going to be different from your main production website. You can A/B test that with some users. You can send some people, hey, what do you think of that new feature? This shield is good. Oh, we have a bug there. Now you test that, and then you collect this feedback, and you see if you implement that in production or no. Can be even good for automating those tests. Okay, question here, Sergo?
Yes, two questions, Matheus. So the first is you can only deploy public GitHub repositories on Vercel. Is that correct or not?
I need to check the plans. I had that private repository for some reason here, but I guess you can only import public repositories on Vercel, on the free plan, on the hobby plan.
Right. And if you make any changes, how long does it take the propagation? And where do you make changes, in the GitHub or in Vercel?
You make the change there on GitHub, it automatically pushes to Vercel. If you do that setup correctly, that I did in the first half an hour of the workshop, everything is going to work correctly in the future. All of the deployments are going to be automatically picked up here by Vercel.
So if I make changes in cursor, how do I make sure that it's automatically updated on Vercel?
Gotta commit.
Push. Commit, okay.
Commit
Okay.
and push that, yes. Git is your friend here.
Okay. And is there any delay in terms of propagation if I'm committing from cursor?
No, that is the time for deployment. So this deployment took 1 minute and 4 seconds, you see?
Okay.
Just wait for a little. Ideally, you test it locally for it to be super fast. But then when you want to ship that for someone else, they can wait a couple minutes, of course. They are probably not going to see it instantly. You're going to send them, hey, buddy, test out this new feature that I'm rolling out for my game. They're going to see that 5 hours from now. So the build time is not that big deal in this situation, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. I guess we are set for something. I would invite all of you to participate on Thursday. We're going to do ideation and team formation. I might showcase something very quick. I'm cooking some stuff. Not the barbecue, Manuel. Don't get too excited. I'm sending Manuel all of the pictures of the barbecues that I do. So I might do a barbecue, by the way.
Same time on Thursday, Matheus?
Yeah, same times. This time zone is better for you guys, right?
Yeah.
Not that late on Europe. For United States, you need to check as well with other members. But maybe I do one in Europe time zone, one in United States. Maybe I replace myself with an AI agent that can work 24/7. But I'm still working on options here for those time zones. And next Thursday, ideation team formation. I want you all to be well prepared for the hackathon. And then on Friday, we have that showcase with Artisan, and we're going to do the kickoff. We might have some like music, some vibes to go on. It's going to be very short, but I want to give all the spotlights for you all to build something cool. Okay.
Matheus, to get familiar with Windsurf, how do we access the pro version that you are giving users.
So you gotta subscribe for the hackathon. If you are a subscriber, on the Friday, I'm going to send all of these codes, okay?
Okay.
But now we can use it for free. And then
Okay.
on Friday, we're going to send, you can join as a member pass. So if you join as a normal application, the only different thing that you need to do, you don't need to pay anything, is to put a link for your Vibe Code landing page, showcasing what you want to build. You can even change that later. It can be just a placeholder, and that will get you inside the Vibathon. For the first 100 members, how many I have here? How many are participating? 71. So everyone that applied are going to be in for it. If we have more than 100, I wouldn't need to ask for more coupon codes from Windsurf. They might give, but they cannot guarantee. The ones that I have are about 100. So make sure that you apply quickly, and you are going to be in the threshold for receiving those coupons, okay? Sounds good. Excited to see what the kind of fun games we're going to have cooking here. If you want to reach out before the hackathon for ideas, please make sure to ping me. I'm doing those one-on-ones whenever possible. Helping. I've met with Manuel, with Sergo before. Everyone here, Don, Asante, Jordan, Miro, please feel free to reach out, send a message there on Telegram. If you're watching this recording later, please feel free to reach out to send those messages. I would love to onboard all of you for the hackathon, and we have even greater things planned for the near future. Okay, let me send the Telegram again, no worries. I do have this community called Venture Mind Academy, and people sometimes get shy to post there because they have like 500 members. Forget that number. There are like 20 or 25 members. Everyone else is just it's staying there. I don't want to kick them out. So it's very intimate and cool. You can post things there. You can ask for recommendations. You can post memes. Don't be a stranger. Go there, introduce yourselves, and let's vibe together, okay?
Great.
Great.
Awesome, Matheus. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you all for participating. I'm going to stop recording. Okay, thank you all. Stopping